Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Afterfauve, and Afterfauve has this question. Afterfauve would like me to speak to how difficult it is to create a tarot deck. And the reason is because, as an artist, Afterfauve has often been approached by people suggesting that he should do a tarot deck because they feel his artwork would be well suited to it. And he would like my input on how difficult a task this is or is not, based on the knowledge that I have produced several tarot decks over the course of the last 30 years. And my answer to this begins by saying that this is exactly what happened to me with the Tarot of Hecate back in the 1980s. In those days, I was illustrating for a wide range of pagan magazines doing spiritual artwork with a lot of heavy symbolism. And Lady Bitterwind, now the retired first elder of the Correllian tradition, approached me at that time suggesting that I should adapt this artwork to a tarot deck, that my style and my symbolism would be very well suited to this purpose. And she suggested this repeatedly and forcefully until I finally agreed that yes, I would do this. And that was the beginning of the Tarot of Hecate, but the actual execution took several years. And the publication history took 30 years before it finally came to market, although that's largely because it was laid aside for a long time. At the time, it was to have been published by Gemini Press, which was a publisher of science fiction fanzines, which was attempting to move into other markets at the time, but although they had the original artwork, nothing ever came of it. Only the fact that I had kept meticulous copies of that original artwork allowed it to eventually come into existence at all. But how difficult was it? How difficult it is in general? Well, you have to first start from the understanding that a tarot deck involves a great deal of artwork. If you're talking about an oracle deck, sometimes they have fewer cards, but a tarot deck almost always has at least the standard 78 cards, and sometimes many more, depending on the deck. Crowley's famous Tarot of Thoth has several different magician cards in many contemporary iterations, for example, as well as the one that he chose at the time. This gives it more than 78 cards. The Tarot of Hecate was 100 cards, so obviously creating 78 original works of art is going to take you quite a bit of time. And if you add any extra cards, even more so. How much time depends on the complexity of the artwork and the medium that you are using. Some obviously will take longer than others. When I did the Tarot of Hecate, I was working in pen and ink and in a very small size to begin with. So they did go a little faster than they might have otherwise, but most people who create tarot decks do large paintings of their cards, which I would imagine takes substantially longer still. So just creating the artwork is going to take you quite a bit of time, almost no matter what medium you're using. Although I will say that at Witch School we at one time had an automated tarot reader for which I created a particular deck of cards that was very simplified and did not involve a lot of detail, but even that took time because of the volume of images. So you have to assume just from the start you'll spend a lot of time making artwork. And it can't just be any artwork. Tarot decks, at least in the sense that we're discussing here, are for divination. They're a spiritual tool, and you want to bring that understanding to creating that artwork. It's not just pretty pictures. Although it is worth saying that there's also a significant collector's market for tarot decks in the sense of playing cards, which is how they're still used in many parts of the world. In the US, they're almost exclusively for divination, but that isn't true worldwide, which is why we have things like the baseball tarot or the Halloween tarot, and other tarots such as this, which don't necessarily make a lot of sense from the metaphysical perspective, but are highly desirable to people who collect a wide range of tarot cards simply as an art form. So there is a wide range of ways that you can approach how you create your tarot deck, but if you're watching this vlog, you're probably thinking of it as a metaphysical tool. So you have to think about your symbolism, you have to think about the meaning. That requires thought, may require meditation, may require revision as you go. Not all of those 78 images that you will have to create are going to be right the first time, so that's even more effort you'll be putting in. So the creation of the deck itself, both in conceptualization and execution, is a major investment of time and no two ways around it. Then you have the issue of what are you going to do with it. Most likely you want to have it published. Most likely that involves a publisher, and that can be a complicated process as well. And in general, there's also going to need to be a written description of the deck and suggested meanings and so forth, which is still more time that you'll be committing. So be aware of that. Now, it is possible in this day and age to self-publish your deck. That's what we did with Tarot of Hecate. It's not as easy as self-publishing a book. There aren't as many tools available to do it, but it certainly can be done. And this would give you more control over your project. There are also, I imagine, people who simply put the artwork somewhere online and are content with that. So there are a lot of possibilities in terms of what you do with it. But if you're looking to have it professionally published or to publish it yourself, you're talking about still more time to get this done. So how hard is it? Well, if you love artwork, that's not necessarily hard, but it is time-consuming, and there's a lot of time that will be involved. So I would not say that it's necessarily difficult. I would say that it is a major undertaking. And that would be my thought on the matter. I hope you find it helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. Please join me for our Correllian Peace Prayer. I pray for peace. I pray for love. I pray for stability. I pray for the nation where I live. I pray for the world.